Hi everybody, welcome along to Speedway Gladiators. A new season has begun. Coming along in the show tonight, we catch up with Marty Jones. Marty is the clerk of the course here in Palmerston North. We also know a lot of people watch the program internationally, and we have classes here in New Zealand that you don't have internationally. So we'll break down the information on Ministocks, Stockcars and Superstocks and the differences between them. Safety is very, very important. We went down to Fast Lane Spears, suppliers of most of the safety equipment for cars and also drivers here in Palmerston North, and had a look at the sort of products that they sell. We also look at the highlights from last weekend's opening night's racing, and we'll look at the Travel Smart season points as well. We thought that the people outside of New Zealand wouldn't be familiar with some of the classes that we race in Speedway in New Zealand. So we thought what a perfect opportunity would be to show two or three of the classes that we run here that would be a complete surprise to an international audience. Marty Jones is the clerk of the course here in Palmerston North. Marty's been around Speedway for quite some time. He's been in stock cars, been in Superstocks, and he's seen the Youth Ministocks develop over the years. Stock cars were first dreamed of here initially back in the 60s, and then they were sort of big old American saloons with pipes around them and bumpers and all sorts of stuff. And at some stage we must have then decided to design something completely different.
Somebody sort of went, hey, we can make a purpose-built chassis, it'll be stronger, it'll be faster, and we probably won't spend all week fixing it after we've been racing on a Saturday night.
But let's look at the first one here, the tank. Now that's in the classic era.
This would have been built in the early 90s, maybe, a Dave Evans tank, owned and raced very successfully by Scott Miers, a name that of course will be known to a lot of our Great Britain viewers. This car was part of the Panthers winning team on more than one occasion, as I recall. You know, this was a competitive Superstock back in its day. Funnily enough, bit of a family story, so many years ago when I was the manager of the Palmerston North Pumas, and we'd raced in the teams champs at, I think it was Bay Park in Tauranga, and I'm talking probably 26 years ago. And at that time, young Scotty was the promoter at Palmerston North. And anyway, at the conclusion of the event, I rang him and to tell him how we'd done. And somehow or another, and to this day it baffles me how it happened, but by the end of the phone conversation, I owned this particular car. So motor-wise, I guess current spec for the era, current spec gearbox diff. Probably the only thing Speedway New Zealand won't allow these guys to run Hoosier tyres. But to be honest, put Hoosiers on this thing, you could run it in the Superstock class as we currently know it, and be reasonably competitive and probably have a hell of a lot of fun while you were at it. Looking at today's Superstock, and we've got one right behind us, completely different kettle of fish. Technology-wise, certainly. Motor-wise, certainly a lot more developed. Suspension, brakes, a lot more developed. You could put the running gear off this car that's parked behind me here into this car over here, and you would be midfield to the front of the field, and be having a hell of a lot of fun. Now we go from there to the stock car, which I'm not saying is a step beneath, but in class it is. So originally, and again going back to my day of racing, so there were no Superstocks, there were no stock cars. Well, there were stock cars, that was what they were. Initially it was intended that they would be the older, uncompetitive, what we, I guess, called A-grade stock cars back in the day. Mm-hmm. They have now evolved to a point where they are no longer what they were ever intended to be. So stocks and Superstocks, in terms of engine, 248 cubic inch. So for most of our Superstock motors, they will be a bigger motor that's been sleeved or de-stroked. Like the Nissan guys, they're starting with the VK56 Nissan motors, and sleeving and stroking them down to that 248 cubic inch. Engine compressor ratio, 10:1 compression, both classes. Carburetted, For Superstocks, for stock cars, Speedway New Zealand has recently allowed fuel injection as well. So stock car, a carbureted or fuel injection, but running through a restrictor plate. So basically limiting the amount of air that can get into the motor. A competitive Superstock motor in this day and age will be making anything from, on an engine dyno, anything from very high 400s. There are guys claiming they're making high 500s, low 600s. To be honest, I struggle to see how that can be the case. Back in the old days, minimum weight 1300 kgs ready to race, minus driver, maximum weight 1500 kgs. This day and age, I think more guys struggle to get their car up to what is now the minimum of 1400. Like, hey, power to weight ratio, more power, less weight, faster you go.
We start off the youth, 12 years of age, in what we call a mini stock, strictly non-contact.
Ideally strictly non-contact, not going to always be the case. Some tracks apply the rubbing as racing rule, other tracks strictly no. Me personally, I think it should be strictly no. You know, I mean, if you want to scare a kid out of Speedway, put him out in a mini stock and he gets a big serve the first night and he probably ain't going to come back. So a bunch of young people that have been New Zealand champions in both stock cars, super stocks, sprint car racing, super saloons, I believe, have come through that mini stock programs.
What are some of the safety features in the contact cars?
My first car, that the seat was made out of a 44-gallon drum that was sort of cut diagonally across it, and it had a bunch of padding in it. And back in the day, that was a stock car seat. We've come a hell of a long way. You know, the quality of the seats now. I guess the predominant brands, Racetech, Clerk, some of the American brands we're seeing, young blokes like William Humphreys is building seats now. All very, very good seats, really protect the driver well. 5-point race harnesses, sometimes 6-point race harnesses. A lot, I guess, more padding in the cab.
Even with the mini stocks, they've got a certain amount of protection there too.
Yep, so again, full containment seats, proper race harnesses. Scrutineering, we look at the likes of, how close are the guy's knees to the steering box and such like. Minimum head heights, 100 mil from the top of the helmet to the underside of the roll cage.
Marty, where do you see it going, like in the next 5 to 10 years?
Even more safety orientated. Some spectators come to Speedway, they want to see fast cars racing, they want to see overtaking. Other spectators come to Speedway and they want to see banging and crashing in these classes. And I guess that's why, the teams champs that we host here in Palmerston North every year is the biggest Speedway meeting in New Zealand every year, without a doubt.
Somebody in New Zealand had the idea of contact in the Speedway that was different from demolition derbies and banger racing and all that kind of thing. It is completely different. We've developed our own class, our own style, and our own vehicles.
To be honest, I couldn't tell you when they started racing, like the F1 cars in the UK. Don't forget the Dutch. They also race the same cars as they run in the UK. And of course, we have a couple of the Dutch guys come out with Team G for the last 2 or 3 years and raced as part of Team GB. This car here that we're standing in front of obviously has got the 5GB on it. This is the car that Charlie Sorter's driven for the last couple of years here. In his first year, I think he won, was it the Spike Richardson?
He did.
Absolutely spectacular the first year he came out.
Well, there we are. If you're not living in New Zealand, you will find, I hope, the program interesting. This is how we race Speedway in New Zealand, with the mini stock, with the stock car, the super stock, and the classic. Safety is very, very important, both for the driver and for the classes. Fast Lane Spears have got a whole selection, probably the largest supplier of safety equipment in Palmerston North. We shot down to Fast Lane Spears and had a look at their selection. Fast Lane Spears is in Palmerston North. It's in Featherston Street, just around the corner from the track, in fact, very, very close. And when you walk in the door, Luke Miers is one of the friendly faces you'll see. Luke, the Miers family's been involved in Speedway for quite some time. You've got your cousin Jake, of course, your dad in Speedway as well. So you've never really been that far from when you started a mini stocks from it.
From a young age, got involved into mini stocks, and then that evolved into stock cars and little short stint in a Superstock. Yeah, so definitely been involved for most of my life.
The most important thing, I guess, for you and for most people is when they first start in the sport, they've got to look at the safety aspect. What are the newbies that come in ask you for? What advice are they looking for?
Yeah, 100%. So safety gear is probably the one thing you don't want to skimp on in terms of, the gear that you need. So we do it all. We do overalls, helmets, balaclavas, race boots, race gloves, neck devices. There's a whole range to choose from.
Do they all go in various price ranges, so you can have the more budget end of it and then the more expensive end of it?
There's a whole range. You could spend $500 on a helmet, and you could spend $2,500 on a helmet.
How do you recommend to somebody this is what you really need?
Yeah, well, obviously all the gear we sell here is good gear.
Yep.
It's not anything which has problems or anything like that.
Yep.
So we've got our fast lane gear, which is really good. Really well priced. So in terms of mini stock guys and guys starting out, we tend to offer that to them.
Yep.
It's not too badly priced, and it does the job perfectly.
And you've got Hans devices?
Yep, we do Hans devices. Some guys use a Simpson hybrid, and then you got the odd guy that just uses a foam donut. So there's a few options to choose from.
Let's look at seatbelts. What options do they have?
Yeah, again, a few different brands. We've got our Fastlane branded belts. We've got Impact. We do a bit of race tech, so you can get non-ratchet belts, ratchet belts. There's a whole range to choose from.
Looking at seats, you've got, I see a race tech seat over in the corner.
Not a whole lot in terms of seats. Obviously, we've got this race tech seat over here, which is primarily a stock car, Superstock suited seat.
We've talked about for the driver, what can you fit into the car for extra safety?
Yeah, we've got like roll bar padding, that sort of stuff.
Very little you don't sell as far as bits and pieces for cars.
Yeah, like obviously when it comes to stock cars and Superstocks, we try and do it all. Radiators, shocks, rims, the list sort of goes on. Air cleaners, anything you can break, we sort of,
Yep.
we sell.
What sort of price would you pay for wheels? What sort of costs are involved in those?
Yeah, standard price for a basic stock car wheel is you're looking at about $100. Obviously we do tyres as well to suit.
Yep.
Have a good stock of them.
When you were racing, is there anything that you wish you could have put in your car that you maybe didn't, or something that you would have added just to make things a little bit easier? Because you did some teams racing, of course.
Yeah, done a fair bit of teams racing. Body's definitely feeling it now. But in terms of if I could change anything, probably not. Like I always had the best gear. I didn't skimp out on anything. Myself or Xeon, we're happy to guide people onto what they need.
If somebody comes in for a helmet, I mean, what do you look for in a helmet?
Like in terms of helmets, probably weight's a big factor. Obviously, the less weight on your neck's better. So you can, like I said before, you can spend $500 on a helmet. You can spend $2,500. The difference in the two, like a $2,500 helmet's probably carbon fibre. So it weighs a whole lot less. And in a class like stock cars or Superstocks, where you're getting smashed around into the wall, the less weight on your necks, definitely better.
So if somebody was on looking for something for a mini stock, they wouldn't need as good.
Yeah, they definitely wouldn't need to spend as much as someone in a stock car Superstock. And I mean, most guys, they're young, their head's still growing, so you'd hate to spend $2,500 on a helmet and then you're only going to fit it for a year.
And the fire safety?
So in terms of like all of our safety gear is all fireproof.
Yep.
So gloves, suit, boots, all of that's all flame-proof, meets all the specifications.
So as far as all the other bits, the garage gears, you've got the jacks, you've got wheel stands, everything that they probably need or don't even know they need until they come down and have a look around what you've got.
People will walk in here and they'll have a look around and, they may have only needed some tear-offs and then next thing they're walking out with, $3,000 worth of parts.
Exactly.
So,
what's the point of the tear-off and they come in various sizes?
Yeah, so we've got a massive range of tear-offs here. I suppose the whole point of them is when you're racing, your helmet just gets covered in dirt, so you need to be able to clear that dirt effectively. So you simply rip a tear-off off and it gives you an extra life so you can see again.
So they come in packs?
Yep, so we've got laminated tear-offs, so you get 3 stacks of 10, so 30 tear-offs in a packet.
Yep. you did pretty well on the stock car. Probably won't be getting back into it anytime soon. I guess this keeps you pretty busy.
Yeah, no, it's cool to be involved in a shop like this. Obviously, all the people that come in, well, 95% of them that come in through the door are Speedway orientated,
Yep.
so it's good to catch up with everyone and deal with everyone.
Well, Luke, while you're not racing, you still are because you're involved in it. You open the doors and people just come in, they want this, that and the next thing. Thanks for allowing us to interrupt part of your day.
Nah.
I know it's a busy little place, Fast Lane Spears in Featherston Street. Luke, thanks for your time, all the very best, and we look forward to catching you at the track.
No, I appreciate it.
All the best. Luke Miers, Fast Lane Spears, one of the major suppliers of bits and pieces for Speedway, certainly in the Manawatu. Opening night always brings out plenty of drivers, plenty of cars and plenty of action. There was plenty of action right across all the classes. Let's have a look at it. 3 heats for the Historic Stockcars and they absolutely turned it on. Race 1, Hilton Parker in the 3R led the charge and a field packed with beautifully rebuilt machines, many from the Dave Evans collection. 5 of his cars were out there altogether, the famous 6P tank, the 98P Brent body and the 8P Stars and Stripes car, a real crowd favourite. Race 2 and an all Evans battle up front. Charlie Harper in the 6P replica took the early lead and really never looked back, holding off Brett Body in the 98P and Elvis Rowland in the 6P tank for a clean sweep of the podium. Race 3, Barry Henright in the 2P fought through the mid-race contact to take the win ahead of Dave Evans and Hilton Parker. Plenty of close racing, a few bruises and a lot of history on show. 3 races, 3 different winners, proof that legends of stock car racing are still alive and roaring right here at the Robertson Prestige International Speedway. The mini sprints kicked off their season with 3 action-packed heats, and what a night it was. Race 1 saw a flying start from 18P Daniel Nichols, edging out the 3NZ Nathan Jeffries and 2NZ Glenn McCutcheon before Jeffries clipped the wall. Nicol held his nerve to take the opening win ahead of McCutcheon and the reigning champ 1NZ Carl Eulenberg, with Jaden Williams 54p close behind. Race 2 went the other way. Carl Eulenberg showed his class, carving through traffic to claim victory over Jaden Williams and McCutcheon, while Nichols' bold highline move ended in the fence. Then in the feature, the 1NZ machine of Carl Eulenberg was unstoppable, leading from lights to flag, with Williams and McCutcheon again filling the podium and Jeffries and Nichols rounding out the top 5. 3 races, 3 different winners and a perfect start to the season for mini sprints here at the Robertson Prestige International Speedway. 4 heats for the Youth Ministocks as they packed plenty into every lap. Race 1 got underway with Charlie Newman, 294p, leading from the front, holding off 23p Kobe Dawn and 128p Aidan Mahi, and a slick, mistake-free drive. Behind them, names like Hayden Arnold, Keaton Herco and Boston Joblin impressed, showing the next generation's got serious pace. Newman took the opening win, setting the tone for the night. Race 2 was all about 271p Blake Mudge, fast off the line and unshakable under pressure. Kobe Dawn chased hard but couldn't find a way past, while Mason Taylor, Preston Potts and Katie Cheatham filled the next spots. Great clean racing right through the field, and Bianca Mudge in the stands loving every second as Blake crossed for the win. Race 3 turned up the intensity. 52p Boston Joblin stormed to the front early, with Will Carroll Holland and Ella Verco giving chase. Drama stock when 63p Caitlin Parfitt hit the wall, bringing out the reds. She was okay, but the car was done. On the restart, Joblin held firm to win from Newman, Carol Holland and Mason Taylor. And in the final race of the night, Boston Joblin did it again, back-to-back wins to close the program. Kobe Dawn and Charlie Newman kept him honest, while Aidan Mahi, Mason Taylor and Paige Smith rounded out the top group after a hard-charging finish that went right to the flag. 4 races, 4 standout performances and a huge statement from the Youth Brigade. The future of Speedway is looking bright here at the Robertson Prestige International Speedway. 4 stock car heats delivered exactly what Palmy fans had come for: hard hits, fast laps and plenty of attitude. Race 1 saw 82p Royden win Stanley and 134p Rebecca Barr trading blows at the front, while 21W Tim Parker and 85G Brittany Carpenter mixed it up behind them. And early reds and a few crunches in turn 2 when Stanley held on for the opening win from Barr and 172p Burmester with Carpenter close behind. Race 2 opened with chaos before the green even flew. Cars gassing it up early, big field energy. 9p Zeon McNabb led from start to finish, keeping 31p Jared Davis and 54p Bevan Humphrey in check with a fresh face. 105p Tony Van Roothoven made his presence felt by introducing himself to half the field twice. Race 3 turned up the contact meter. Josh Mulcahy, 48p, took charge early. Brittany Carpenter chased hard and Ricky Lee Curry found herself right in the middle of it. A few walls kissed, a cone went flying, and Mulcahy grabbed the flag over Carpenter and Curry. And in race 4, the Cheatham brothers from Huntley, Casey and Clinton Cheatham, dominated from the front. Casey took the win ahead of Clinton and Rebecca Barr, with Neil Coley and Cameron Renrick rounding out the top 5. 4 heats, 4 different winners, plenty of bid bumpers. Stock car racing at the Robertson Prestige International Speedway is officially back for the season. The Lucas Oil Super Saloons lit up the Robertson Prestige International Speedway with 3 blistering runs and plenty of horsepower on show. Race 1 was all about 6B Grant Flynn. From the drop of the green, he launched straight to the front with 58p Peter Bingstein and 95b Graham Strong in pursuit. Flynn was silky smooth, running the high line to perfection and never putting a wheel wrong. Even with 92b Kevin Martin and 5b Steve Flynn closing late, the Hawke's Bay Flyer held firm, taking the opening win from Bingstein and Strong, with Martin and Steve Flynn rounding out the top 5. Race 2 brought a reset and a new leader. 44p Brendan Shorty Charland launched hard from the pole and fended off a strong challenge from 41b Jason Long and 5b Steve Flynn. The crowd loved it. Side-by-side racing from the drop of the green. Bingston was again the fastest car on the track, carving through the field from mid-grid to 4th, recording laps in the 16-second bracket. Half a second clear of anyone else, but he ran out of time to catch the leaders. Charlin took the checker comfortably ahead of Long and Flynn, with Bingstein and Monteperto competing the top 5. Then came the 15-lap feature, round 1 of the Lucas Oil Super Saloon Series. Bingston started from the front and never looked back. Grant Flynn shadowed him early, but Bingstein's 58 machine looked transformed, smooth, fast and planted right up on the cushion. Behind them, drama struck when Marty Helcrow and daughter Ashley King tangled, a proper family moment that'll be discussed over breakfast. Once racing resumed, Bingston simply checked out, running consistent 16.8 second laps, half a second quicker than the field. Grant Flynn hung on for second, Charlin finished third, Graham Strong and Jeremy Brown rounded out the top 5 after a mid-pack fight. So round 1 of the Lucas Oil Saloons ended with Peter Bingstein dominant, 3 races, 3 different winners, and a clear message that the horsepower battles of 2025 are well and truly underway here at the Robertson Prestige International Speedway. The Lucas Oil Superstocks returned to Robertson Prestige International Speedway, and straight away the big hitters were back in business. Race 1 fired off with 166V, Hayden Hart grabbing the early lead ahead of 28S Blair Eulenberg and 10G Peter Rees. Behind them, 89W Dale Robertson and the 45R Dion Henderson traded paint, while 971C Jaden Ward and 52P Scott Joblin hit early trouble. Hart looked unbeatable until disaster struck. The 166V pulled onto the infield with just 2 laps to run. That opened the door for Eulenberg, Rees and Robertson. Coming to the flag, lap traffic and a last corner punt from Rees curated chaos, and Dean Robertson, the provider, dived through to steal the win. Rees second, Eulenberg third, with Henderson and Kyle Rowe rounding out the top 5. Race 2 was pure Superstock theatre. From the green, 82S Hamish Booker and Robertson tangled for the lead as Jaden Ward and 156P Trent James reignited the old rivalry. Spins, paybacks and wall shots lit up the mid-pack. All put James on the fence. James returned the favour and the crowd loved every second. Out front, Booker kept his cool. Robertson chased hard but couldn't close the gap. and Booker took the win ahead of Robertson, and 23A Jordan Baldwin with Rees 4th and 77G Sam Hughes in 5th. Classic Palmy action, bent bumpers everywhere. Then in race 3, 971C Jaden Ward returned from villain to victor. He bolted from the green, never looked back, dominating ahead of 52P Scott Joblin, Peter Rees and Dale Robertson, until a late red brought the field back together. Ward held strong on the restart, powering to victory over Reeds and Robertson, sealing a 3-race showdown where all the big names took a turn at the top. The race finished with drama as 77G Sam Hughes went over in a heavy roll but thankfully walked away. So after 3 brutal heats, the night belonged to Dale Robertson, Hamish Booker and Jaden Ward. 3 different winners, 1 epic night of Superstock racing at the Robertson Prestige International Speedway. Here's how the Travel Manager's season points stand after the opening round. In the Superstocks, 89W Dale Robertson made the perfect start, sitting on 30 points. 10G Peter Rees close behind on 26, and 82S Hamish Booker holds third with 20. Stockcars couldn't be tighter. 48P Josh Mulcahy, 82P Royden Winstanley and 134P Rebecca Barr all locked in a 3-way tie for the lead on 18 points each. Expect that to change fast this weekend. The Super Saloons opened up with 58P Peter Bingston on top after a dominant 40-point haul, followed by 6B Grant Flint on 32 and 44 Brendan Charlin with 28. Plenty of momentum carrying into round 2. In the mini sprint, 1NZ Carl Eulenberg leads on 44 points, 54P Jaden Williams next on 36, and 2NZP Glenn McCutcheon on 34 after a consistent night of racing. In the Youth Ministocks, saw nothing between the top 3, 23P Kobe Dawn, 52P Boston Joblin and 294P Charlie Newman, each on 30 after that double points opener. That's your Travel Manager season points update. That's Speedway Gladiators for another week. I hope you enjoyed yourself. We're going to go racing in not too far in the future. We hope you'll join us for more action from the Robertson Prestige International Speedway.